Welcome to Pixels to Politics. I'm Bray, joined tonight by Dougie. We've got a packed episode for you world news involving elections and cover the clearance for Western weapons use in Russia and their response. Stay tuned for an engaging episode. So, Doug, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, been a nice day. Got a lot done. What about you?
Same. Mowed the lawn at work today and it was hot.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. Now I'm tired. Yeah, that's life. And yeah, but did you read about Trump?
Who doesn't know about Trump?
Uh, Probably Biden. I don't think he knows much about anything at this point.
Oh, yes. Today's episode, we're going to start with Trump and unpack the kind of a situation. I think I've been avoiding this one in particular, just
Yeah,
because people tend to get very fired up about it.
for
Uh,
sure.
and I didn't want the podcast to be very like, oh, we're super right wing or we're super left wing, and this is, I didn't want it to always be about Trump and Biden. However, I feel like now with the trial, the first trial, kind of ending here, it to be a good time,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna give a very long or a TLDR backstory. I didn't care much for politics for quite a while, and the first time I really paid attention to uh, an election was the first one between. Well, I think the first one was between, was it Hillary and Trump?
Yep. Clinton and Trump. Yep.
Yeah, and I did not think Trump was going to win. I was very much a media enjoyer. The news. I watched news with my grandmother, and I'm like, oh, okay, Trump's a racist, bigot, sexist, crazy man. That's what the
Yeah.
media says. I should trust the media. And they kept saying he wasn't going to win, and then he won, and my mind was completely blown. And I was like, "This is crazy! What, the news? Like, how could they not have figured this out?" And I went down this very long rabbit hole of learning as much as I could about, I guess, the state of media affairs.
Yeah.
I didn't like what I learned. Turns
No.
out they just lie like the whole time. They're just a bunch of freaking liars. Like, they'll lie to you about every single thing. They'll take everything out of context. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the media is controlled very one-sided right now. The control for the media is very one-sided. I don't really think that's that crazy to say out loud. I think it's very obvious. Most people who are paying attention kind of understand that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so Trump, Trump. He wins
Yeah.
that election, and then Biden wins the second one, and we've had Biden in office now almost completed his first term,
Yep.
and the election's coming up. And I have to say that this administration has to be one of the scariest I think we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not playing softball. That's for sure.
No, they
They.
have
Yeah.
they've declared
uh,
war basically on the other party, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and both sides have always kind of gone at each other, but it genuinely feels like this time they have like they're very confident they can win. I think it's very obvious. I mean, Biden has straight up come out and said, we're gonna win. Trump is going to
Yeah.
lose. He's going to jail. They're obviously very confident that they can stick him away for as long as they need. Um,
Absolutely.
I think the scariest part isn't so much that we have this administration and their sort of view on how our society, the US, should work, but they've also used social media, not just, legacy media, but social media to infect, like, I think the minds after us, I think is best. But I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
people our age too who are convinced that what they're seeing,
Brainwashed.
yeah, they're brainwashed, right? Exactly. They're indoctrinated. They're brainwashed, and
Yeah.
then what they're seeing is true all the time. And unfortunately, like, I'd love to just never talk about it, but it comes up so much. I don't start the conversation, but the person I'm talking to brings it up, and they're so confident in their morality with it. They're like, "Oh, Trump
Yeah.
is an evil man, and look, they got him. They got him." And they're so excited. They're so freaking excited that this guy that they think is pure evil is going to jail. And we could just talk about the case, but it's over hush money for
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest here. They're
sure.
saying, falsifying business records. Name a politician that hasn't done that.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, and it gets so much worse that as like, you got him, you got him. I mean, I don't think they really got him to be honest, but they he was found guilty for however many charges of basically paying off this woman, this
Yep,
prostitute with uh campaign funds.
yep.
And the amount was like something less than $200,000, which I mean, maybe that sounds like a lot, maybe it doesn't, but it's not a
It's
lot.
kinda chump change. It's
Yeah,
chump change for a super PAC. It
it's
really is.
it's Trump change.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Chump change, yeah, you got me,
but
Trump change.
but there hasn't been a politician, and and it's not a justification, but there hasn't been a politician who hasn't done something like this. As a matter of fact, Hillary
No,
herself has been she was found guilty of the same thing, and she paid a small fine, and it everyone just moved the fuck on. To be honest with you,
yeah,
but for Trump, because of how targeted he is by the other party, they're trying to get a maximum sentence in prison, and they want to send him to Rikers, and they want to get him. And there's some like even further conspiracy theories about this, but I mean, it's just crazy. And no matter how you feel about this particular guy, I have not read anything or seen anything that he's done that one is so different from the other politician or any other
yeah,
politician that's come before him that would warrant such pure uh animosity and hatred and this like, yeah, get him, but like it's there. Like that's how people
it is.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it doesn't come. It's not a natural response. I think it's very much from media and both forms of the media, legacy media and social media.
yeah, and obviously, Trump's not a perfect guy, like, he has his flaws here and there.
Sure.
Is he a narcissist? Is he egotistic? For sure, yeah. Did he bring gas prices to $2? Yeah, he did. Do I want my $2 gas prices back? Yes. Do I care about what an administration does if it doesn't bring me back my gas prices? Not really. I don't care about what your opinions on, ice cream is or whatever you want to call it. As long as you can get my gas prices to $2, I think we can work out a vote exchange there. But obviously, that hasn't been the case with the Biden administration. The economy has just been going downhill, not uphill. And like people want to talk a lot about how Trump is, this or that. Like, I don't really care what his opinions on other people are. I don't care if he's, an evil man. If he can bring the economy back up, I'd say it doesn't really matter how evil he is. Me personally, I don't really care. I don't care if he doesn't like me. I don't care if he hates me. As long as he brings my money back, that's all that really matters. I feel like everyone can really agree on that.
No, I yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people agree with you that
Yeah,
most people don't care about this side of the politics. They don't give a fuck about if it's an old man who has dementia and can't walk straight and may or not be pooping his pants, or if it's a criminal politician who's a businessman. I don't think most people don't care. They just care
yeah,
that like their livelihood is working for them, that their paycheck, it's carrying them through life. And unfortunately, again, like you said, a lot of people are in that same boat where like it's not, and it's ironically, it's not really all Biden's fault or this administration's fault. It has a lot to do with geopolitics. However, I do think they're doing a bang up job of cushioning us. And
yeah,
there are a lot of steps that could be done better. And again, like you said, a lot of people, it doesn't. The side stuff doesn't matter. It just matters that you can go and buy gas at a decent price. That's all that's mattered for the past like 30, 40 years is can I go
yeah,
to the gas station and buy gas with my paycheck and not be the whole fucking paycheck, or go to the
yeah,
grocery store
exactly.
and like provide for my family. That's all people give a fuck about. They don't care. Could be a headless
Yeah.
man running the country. No one cares. But
Yeah, no, if Biden had, decent economic policy and, the government was in, a good position, the economy was in a good position, no one would really be paying attention to any of these things that he's doing. But because the economy is in such a, crappy position, everyone's like taking a look at what our administration is doing and they're finding out, oh, they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like, can
mhm.
we have some leadership going on here? Like people want to talk a lot about we have the highest GDP or yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, you look at it and the people are the ones that are suffering from all this, no one else, you know? people in government, the politicians, they have their pockets lined. They don't care. There's no incentive, and it's like you look at the foreign policy we had when Trump was in office. We had good policy with Russia. We had good policy over on the Eastern Hemisphere, and look at the effects of that. We had lower gas prices. We had less unemployment. We were doing export and import in our own country, which was good. And then you take a look at the Biden administration. There's no foreign policy with Russia. There's no foreign policy with China. The policy is to just not say anything and to just sit behind and send out money to Ukraine or Israel and just, once again, just line some pockets, fulfill a few contracts, sign a few pieces of paper, and be done with it. Like, where's the trade routes? Where's the gung ho? Like I don't understand what we're supposed to be doing with what we got going on right now.
Yeah. Personally, I have some like differing opinions when it came to Trump's foreign policy. There are things I really liked, or things I didn't like. I don't really attribute all of the current situation. I think that these things were kind of being planned out for quite a while, and they saw weakness and they jumped on it, and it is what it is. I think this a
Yeah,
lot of what's happening now is eventually going to happen. But in general, I think domestically, the there should be equal outrage from both sides when one politician is putting another in prison and trying to. That should
yeah.
immediately draw some red flags. And unfortunately, I've been surprised by everyone's response of like, no, this is fine, this is good. I think that's kind of wild. If you like, that's something that Russia does. That's something that China does. That's something that third world countries do. They send
Well, I
their
I would go so far as to say America is a third world country at this point in time. I would consider the America a third world country. I would say we are no longer first world. I would say we have gone past point. I'd say we are in third world state at the moment.
some yeah. I mean, again, some people would agree with you. They have agreed with you. They've said the same thing, and I think
Yeah,
it's. I mean, at least in this aspect, I agree. It's like this is such a insane prospect that one politician is trying to jail the other. And you know what? Fuck it. Like maybe if our country was doing super well and the world wasn't in chaos, we'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Hey, fuck the guy, right? You know what I mean? Like send him to
yeah,
jail. Like sure, stay in power, bro. Unfortunately, it's not like that. It's like you have this double action happening of like, okay, things are downhill at the same time. You're also trying to persecute your opponent. That's not good, man. Like,
no, it's
that's
not.
not good. Again, that's what happens in the countries that we're at war with, that we like look down upon, the third world countries. Like that's what happens there. It's the same thing. Like
Yeah. This is something that you would expect from like a country in South America with a corrupt government. This is not something that people would normally expect from a country like America with one of the highest military powers on the planet. It's not. And the fact that it's gotten to this point really says a lot about where the political state of our government is in. I would say too many foreign powers have their hands in the cookie jar in our country, and there needs to be a way to deal with all of that. You look at now, go for it.
no, I was just gonna. I agree. I think a lot of it has to do. I was gonna bring it back to social media, where I think social media is playing a large part because the surprise doesn't really come from the politicians. Politicians are going to do whatever they can to gain more power. What the surprise for me has always been the public's response, and this particular election cycle, I've been so amazed at just the public's response of like again the animosity, the like yeah get him, this is a good thing. And I think a lot
Yeah,
of that comes down to social media, where people would like to think that it's random and that they're just seeing what they like. That's what they tell us, right? We're just seeing what you like. It's part of the out. You're only seeing what you like. That's not true. That's not what's going on. It's
no,
very manipulated. It is very
it is.
manipulated. It's very manipulated by the Democrats. Like,
Yeah,
and there's plenty of proof of it. It came out recently, the Twitter files. Like, that was a big thing. They were
yeah,
literally silencing people and pushing their narrative. You talked bad about COVID or wearing masks, and they would come for you. They were actively coming for you, and it doesn't stop at Trump. It hasn't stopped at Trump. Alex Jones came out recently and said the FBI is trying to shut down his studio, and it's not just that. It's not even he's not even the second person here. There was also cases where There were moms who were protesting. I think it was wearing masks for their kids or something at school. I don't really remember specifically what it was, but they were just protesting, and the FBI is
Yeah.
showing up at their door, telling them to stop. And in general, there has been a lot of persecution from this administration for people who are just speaking their mind.
Yeah.
And it's kind of getting worse. And the thing that kind of scares me is Alex Jones came out. I mean, you can think of him what you want, but they are,
Yeah.
there's proof that they're trying to shut him down. And one of the things he was saying was that they're trying to like kill Trump and kill him. And it's just like, whoa, like whoa, dude, like wow, that's fucking crazy. But it wouldn't surprise me with this move that like, oh, you send him to prison and then fuck it, he gets shanked in prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what they did with Epstein. Did something similar
Sure,
with that.
exactly. No, no, no,
But
100%.
the thing about it is, it's like imagine how much stress that judge is under right now.
The
Either
Democrat
that
one.
judge is the judge that's overseeing Trump's case. Imagine how much pressure he's under. Either his pockets have been lined and he's comfy cozy, or he is someone who is trying to act on neutral authority as a judge is supposed to,
He has
and
connection.
he's being.
He's
You think
connected to
so?
the. No, no, no. It's like it's well documented. He was like appointed by somebody under the Biden administration. Some nonsense. He has a direct connection to the. It's a.
And
I
and
think it's a
that's
chick, right? Is
yeah, I
it a
think
guy
it's a
or a girl?
chick.
I think it's a chick. But either
I think
way,
it's a chick.
she has a direct connection to the Biden administration. The lawyers,
Does she?
the prosecution, their lawyer also has a direct
And
connection.
that right there should be reason for a mistrial.
Yeah, well, there's no like. I mean,
That's the thing. There is nothing that oversees the judge. The judge kind of oversees the whole process. So it's
yeah,
like you can't call for a mistrial on a judge that's overseeing the entire case. It's not possible.
yeah. I mean, this has all been said. This is all very vocalized. The whole thing is a sham. It's called a sham trial for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
it is obviously a bunch of bullshit. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how people look at this and go, oh yeah, this is legit. Yeah, yeah, I get
well, no, no.
it.
I work with people that are like that. You know, the only thing I
Oh,
tell them, I just nod my head and I agree with them. That's all I do. I literally just agree with what everyone says, and that typically gets me through the day.
yeah.
And
I
then
do the
it's
same
always
thing.
it's always the same thing. Yep, Trump is screwed, et cetera, et cetera. They got him for his thing, yada yada yada. It's pretty much the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing about this is, it's like if it was a done and over deal, I don't think they'd be wasting time talking about this any more than they need to. The thing is, if this was like a for sure thing where it's like, okay, clap our hands together, he can't run for president, they wouldn't be wasting as much time reporting on this as they have been. I think they're blowing this out of proportion. I don't think this is going to stop him from being on the ballot. I don't think it will stop people from voting for him on the ballot. I think the only reason that they care this much about his trial and his case and getting him the maximum penalty is quite literally because they know that if he appears on the ballot, that he will immediately beat Biden. It's not even a competition at this point. And they're trying to pass bills along the lines of, um, you know, if you're a felon or if you're convicted of a crime of this type, that you can't run for president, et cetera, et cetera. But the Constitution only really states three things: you have to be, have lived in the country for 14 years, be 35 years of age, and be born in America, pretty much. And that's all. That's the three requirements for running for president. And he fulfills all of those requirements. And I doubt there's going to be any amendment that gets passed. Obviously, a Republican caucus will shoot it down as quickly as they possibly can, which makes sense. So I don't think anything is going to prevent him from being on the ballot. They did try to push for July 11th date, I noticed, and
Mm,
July 15th is the deciding factor for Republican candidates. So it's 4 days before that.
gotcha. Well, I mean, I again, I completely agree. I don't think it'll pass, and I think the writing is on the wall. If it was a done deal, if this was over, no one would talk about it anymore. Um,
Yeah,
I also noticed that there's been a huge shift in mentality. So like just from the ground level, as me as a person who's navigating the world, a lot of the people I know who at the start were like, yeah, Biden, left, 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 now they're just kind of like, fuck that guy. Like,
yeah,
things aren't going well. Again, gas prices and food, and then there's all the wars. It's taken its toll, and people don't really support him anymore on either side. Um, so there's that, and then there's a new wave of people who before they were like very much on the left and they were supporting Biden and they gave compliments, and now they're like, no, fuck this guy. Like a lot of people are
Yeah.
coming forth now and like they're supporting Trump, and it's not just like individuals, but it's also the media has kind of changed position too. They're now criticizing um,
Yeah.
him in areas they really weren't before. So I totally agree. I think it's gonna shift back. It's just he doesn't have the support he needs, and
No.
I wouldn't. I'm this time. I would not be very surprised if Trump easily won, even with
No.
such a nonsense fucking uh guilty verdict. Like,
Yeah. And another thing is, like, that's assuming that he doesn't get, like, a bond or bail, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like,
Did you see how much money he made after? People
yeah,
do
he made, like, yeah, a lot of money. I think it was,
40
like, in the tens of yeah,
$45 million.
yeah.
Like, yeah, his donation website went down because of how
I
many
wouldn't
people
mind
are
4 years
donating.
in prison for 45,000,000.
I mean, the max he can get is 1 year, and I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that'll even happen. I don't think there's any way that happens, but
No.
45 million, yeah, for 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows that people really are just not gonna just sit by and just let it happen, you know what I mean? Even if it does get to the point where he gets convicted for a year or whatever, they'll appeal it. They'll appeal it. They'll call for a mistrial. They'll bring it to the Supreme Court. They'll do whatever they have to do to evade it. Realistically speaking,
For
this is
sure.
not going to keep him from being on the ballot.
No, 100%
And it
agree.
and anyone that thinks otherwise is fooling themselves. 100%.
I don't think they're fooling themselves. I think they're mind controlled.
Yeah,
So,
that too. You know, brainwash, whatever you want to call it. The dolphins with LSD have gone, awry or whatever you want to call it. But it's like I am curious as to what the response is going to be once he is on the ballot. Like, will they try to kill him? Will they, attempt to do another thing with the virus where everyone has to stay inside and then they just rig the election ballots again, like they did with Biden's election? Um,
yeah, there's a
we'll
lot of
see what
evidence
happens.
now for that too. There's been so much in the past 6 years, I suppose, where
I was there during the entire election process for the Biden versus Trump election. And I was, investigating in real time as they updated the Excel documents, every state and county as they were getting deposited pretty much. There would be, three ballots of the same kind. There was evidence of that, multiple instances. You would find people where their address would be in the middle of nowhere, essentially. Their address was literally just like in the middle of a forest. There was no house or anything at all. There'd be people that were already deceased, people that said that they hadn't voted, that said that that got an email that they had voted, or they got mail in their mailbox that they had voted, even though they didn't. It's just the entire thing was just yeah, pretty much just rigged. That was the only way that they could win, and I think they figured out after COVID that they would not be able to spin it a second time, so they had to go with the whole put him in jail route and just hope it sticks type of deal.
yeah, I
But
think
if that doesn't work, he's going to be in pickle, kind of.
who is he?
Trump. Because now he's going to be forced to go on the defensive. Like, are they going to try to assassinate me?
Oh
Are they
yeah,
going to? He's going to have to be very careful about what his next moves are for sure. Um, and as long as he gets inaugurated, that's all that matters. Because the second he's inaugurated and he's sworn in, the Secret Service is pretty much going to be at his disposal. And the Secret Service is probably one of the only neutral entities left in the government.
mm. um, yeah, it is kind of worrisome actually. You bring up a good point where they've taken a double down approach on every loss that they've taken.
Yeah,
So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of scary to talk about an assassination attempt, but it's so funny. I actually have a family member who says they're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him, unironically, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing.
No,
Uh,
no. And it's like and even then, and it's so funny because when you watch the Republican debate when it was going on, you find a lot of people, and then you listen to how Trump talks, and he's not the smartest guy, but you can just tell by the way he talks that he's not like a politician, right?
no, he's a businessman.
He,
He's a show
he's a
host.
businessman. He's a show host. He's a
Yeah,
showman. He's an entertainer. He's
yeah.
not like He's not a politician. He's not really there to discuss policy. He just focuses on the simple aspects, and he says some words, does some things. But as long as it keeps the economy in good standing, I don't really care. The only reason why he's a popular pick among all the other, Republican candidates is because he showed that, hey, I could put the economy in a good point. And everyone's like, okay, we like that. You've proven that you can put the economy in a good position. The other candidates, though, have yet to prove that. And so obviously, people are going to go with the safer option, which would be Trump's economic policy, which makes sense.
Well,
The
I
only
think
thing I
it.
will say is, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, you finish, and then I'll continue.
He should have probably a female as his VP, just so he can have her wear a maid outfit for the opening ceremonies. I'd say it's about it. Like,
Oh
listen,
Lord.
America's been waiting for their waifu, their anime made waifu, and I'd say it's time. It's time. We need to have a female vice president. But that's
Wait a second. Don't we already have one? I'm confused.
oh yeah, no, she's cringe.
Oh, okay.
She's
Uh,
cringe. Sorry, no.
it's
Yeah,
kind of funny. I paid a lot of attention to the rest of the Republican candidates this cycle, and this is the first time I've paid attention to all the candidates. I've only paid attention to ones on the right because Biden fucking stole the left. But
yeah,
Trump is kind of interesting. I think he appeals a lot to the libertarian um base more than the others.
yeah,
And,
for sure.
and not only that, but he stands out a lot more. Whether or not he like is actually trying to implement the things he talks about, he just stands out a lot more. The other ones all kind of like just say the same nonsense, and they would like wait for one person to say something and then they piggyback off of it. Like during the debates, right? Like the interviewer would be like, "Oh, what should we do about Iran?" And everyone's faces kind of go white, and they just like are clearly panicked. They're like, "Oh shit! Like I don't know what to say here. That's a really big issue. I don't want to make
Yeah,
a promise. So it goes down the line, and they just kind of like pass down the buck to like, oh, I don't want
yeah,
to,
yada
I don't
yada.
want to start a new war, but we should do something about it. I don't know what that something is, but we should do something. And then it's just like regurgitated nonsense down the line. The
Yeah,
they all kind of stand out in different ways, but none of them good. It's like a personality trait, like 2D characters from a video game.
yeah,
Um, but Trump, he stands out for
he
better or
does.
worse. He just stands out. There's a video of him actually. I think they're talking about Iran. He's like, or he's about ISIS or something, but he's like, we're gonna bomb the shit out of him. He's like,
Oh
whoa.
my,
Well, I mean, like that's just him. He goes up there, he's
yeah,
gonna say some shit whether you like it or not, and he
yeah,
just
that's true.
stands out. So I think it's kind of been a while since we've had somebody who isn't nervous about a PR nightmare. They
Yeah,
go. They don't want to say something that like upsets people, or well, yeah, they don't want to say something that upsets people, either the left or the right. But he just doesn't give a fuck, and I think a lot of people respect it, even if they don't
yeah,
agree. They just respect it. Oh, okay. I mean, shit. I can get behind this guy. He's gonna fucking light
yep,
him up. Um, but I think in general he just appeals to the more libertarian base,
yep.
and that plays a factor too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had a coworker this morning telling me, oh, this is the Green Party, the Independent Party, or whatever is going to become more popular. People are going to start voting for. Nope, nope. Sorry, it's always been option one or two. The only people that think that the Independent Party are going to ever win a vote are the schizophrenics. That's typically the only people. The people that see people in their living room when they're not there. Yeah, yeah. That's the independent party. It's the delusional people. Sorry, but it will never win.
I think eventually there's a chance, and I actually think it'll be because of the way Trump has changed politics. He's changed it quite a bit in the sense that you don't really need to go to the debates anymore and just be a drone. You can actually just be a personality on the internet, and you
Yeah,
kind of stand somewhat of a chance now. And I would not be surprised if in the future, I think for a little bit down the line, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future that, in the same way that we had some celebrities get elected before, that a
yeah,
celebrity, an internet celebrity or internet influencer actually gets elected. Whether or not that, again, that's for if it's good or bad, I don't know, but I definitely would not be surprised because I mean, it's Trump versus Biden, and how many debates did we see between those two and their other party members?
I mean, we saw like one debate. There was one debate between Trump and Biden.
That I think that was
That was the
last.
previous. That was
Yeah,
last
I
year's
think
though.
that was the last time they faced off.
And the reality of it is, Biden's not going to be able to do another debate because he's not even fit to stand trial. He was excluded from the Trump's case because he was considered, deemed unfit for trial. So it's like, why is a person that is deemed unfit for trial running as president? Well, because the people in power want to stay in power, type of deal.
Yeah, they've used that excuse a lot of, oh, he's just an old man. So one of the things that Trump got charged for was the classified files at his
Yeah,
mansion, which apparently the rumor mill has it that they were planted there. By the way, whether or not that matters, I'll leave up to you guys. But
yeah.
uh, Biden got caught doing the same thing. Like literally got caught, like red-handed. Like
I mean, they were just sitting in his garage right next to his Corvette or something.
Well, so they had an investigator ask him questions, and the investigator in the report, which got leaked by the way, you can find it on the internet. The
Yeah.
investigator said, "Oh yeah, he's just an old man with a shit memory." Like it's just like, okay, so what? This
So,
just disqualifies him with immunity? Like what's going on here? Like I don't understand. So we're charging this guy for the crime that this current guy does all the time. Like I'm confused. What's going on? How does this make any
well, yeah,
sense?
no, it's stupid. It's like, and if he's an old man with terrible memory, then why does he have those documents in his garage? What if he loses them? What if he doesn't remember where they are? Wouldn't that
Bro,
be a
he doesn't.
more?
He doesn't know. No, I
Yeah, the
mean it
investigator probably knew what they were before he even knew what they were.
for sure. I'm
What are these
sure.
things? Are these the files? He's like, I don't know. Like, oh, let me grab some ice cream out of the fridge.
It's so funny. I mean,
Yeah,
the meme. It should be taken more seriously, for good reason. And I
yeah,
think part of that's like the ploy is like to downplay it, like, aha, he funny old man, let him do what he wants. Like I think there
yeah,
was a comedian who's like said, oh, it's always funny, sad whenever Biden enters the room. Like, oh, there's Grandpa. Like, you go,
yeah.
Grandpa. You can still walk. Good job.
Good job.
You
Yeah,
know, he took 5 more steps today and didn't fall over. Like, wow, Grandpa.
yeah.
But
Good job.
it's like, dude, this is also the president of the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah,
It doesn't look
yeah.
good.
Kind of. No, it does not. I
Mm.
remember seeing the video where Biden fell off his bike.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't even moving. He just
Yeah.
stopped moving and then fell.
Again, it's
And
funny, sad. You're like, oh yeah, the president just fell off his bike, dude.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. The Secret Service probably get a bonus this year. They probably been getting a bonus since he got elected. The cabinet members probably went up to him like, uh, "Yeah, we're sorry about this. This is from us." They just give him like a Christmas card with like a bonus. Like, thanks.
Uh,
Like, yeah,
apparently, so you know how he always gets lost when he's walking around
yeah.
after from place to place. It doesn't even matter where. He just gets lost. So apparently they've been upping the amount of people who walk with him so he doesn't get lost
Oh,
anymore. So he
that's
has
so
like
sad.
so he has babysitters who walk with him from point A to point B so he doesn't get lost anymore. And it's
Isn't
just
that crazy to think about? This person is supposed to be the president. Like, isn't that he's supposed to be the representative of the country, and he's just not even there mentally.
it is wild. I mean, it's completely absurd. Um,
Yeah,
and it's just why I always think it's so crazy that people like would dare support him over Trump. Not like I'm just so confused. I don't know how you
Y-
like think mentally. Uh, fuck.
yeah,
I don't even know. He's got dementia. I don't know what
yeah. You know that meme where the
deteriorated man.
two, yeah, you know that meme where the two guys are like shaking each other's hands or whatever, and then they look at like the homunculus looking creature with like disdain. You know that
No,
meme?
I don't think so. I don't know that one.
Yeah, yeah. I can pull it up, but
Yeah.
it's like it kind of represents like, for example, like Russia has Putin, China has Jinping. And like, both of them are considered dictators by people in the Western Hemisphere oftentimes. But if you really like pay attention, they have a strong understanding of what they want their country to be. They're not like they're old, but they're not like decrepit like
Oh,
Biden
I
is. Like
see.
yeah, I mean, it's like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely agree. one of these leaders is an imposter.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is
Yeah.
an imposter. But
Yeah, yeah, it's like it's ridiculous. And then it's like,
it's just
so
it's wild to imagine that, like, this guy, he sits down with other world leaders, he shakes their hand, and he has to have a full conversation with them. And it's
yeah,
just
for
like
sure.
there's no way that, like, they're sitting across from him and they're thinking, oh
Yeah,
wow, like, this
yeah,
is a competent person. Like, this guy knows what's going on.
yeah. So you got, like, you got Putin and Xi Jinping. They shake their hands and then they look and this you got Biden right
There
there.
he is.
Yeah, yeah. That's the main that was all I wanted to show.
um yeah, so, well, we have this next election cycle. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins,
No, not at all.
hands down, but I mean, it can very easily be a.
Yeah, no, and then it's like, let me look up the other Republican candidates because I don't remember all
Oh,
of
I
them.
remember all of them. You have Nikki Haley, who, honestly, she started out kind of strong. I think she was in second for most of the cycle, and then, to be honest, she got funded by a bunch of people, and her policy, her position kind of changed, and it was really warped. And then people, they all started calling her out for it, like, "Oh, you got bought
Yeah.
off," I liked her for her domestic affairs. I did not like her foreign policies. I thought they were pretty bad. She's definitely
No.
a lot more authoritarian than Trump. One of the things I actually like about Trump is his policy when it comes to AI and digital currencies. I think
Yeah.
these two issues are being slept on, especially when it comes to regulation. And it really worries me that if we end up with Biden for another 4 years, and the implementation of AI kind of goes across the board. I don't. I keep expressing how, like, controlling social media is over people, but, like, as AI gets better, it only gets more controlling, and we're seeing now how bad it is. And it's not only taking place in the U.S; it takes place all across the world. The
Yeah.
same chaos that's being caused here because of social media, that's happening in China and Russia too. Like, we're doing the same thing to them. China banned our social medias pretty quick. They figured it out, like,
Yeah.
okay, they're fucking with us. This is not an accident. This is not like a, again, you see what you like medium. That's not what's
Yeah.
happening. It's control. They're trying to influence us. It's working, and they ban that shit. And while I love freedom of speech, the TikTok ban, I was kind of like, look, I don't like it, but also see ya. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it has to get out of here. Um,
Yeah, I was indifferent to the TikTok ban, to be honest. I use Instagram anyway, so for me it doesn't really matter.
yeah, and I mean, you know, the conflict here is whether or not we want foreign influencers affecting our children and our generation. Um,
Yeah.
but, like, there's still a lot of influence coming from the party, the Democratic Party, and obviously companies themselves. But when have we ever given a shit about companies influencing us? How many of us, were kids watching commercials, and if I said Red Robin, I'm sure you could start humming the fucking theme, like, like,
Yeah,
it's just ingrained in us,
for
and that
sure.
same effect is happening, but much quicker now. And it's the farm to table kind of aspect of this is really quick. It happens
Yeah.
really fast now with the use of social media. And the Democrats just have a hold on it. They have a partnership with Google and Microsoft and Meta slash Facebook. They have a partnership with them. They're in
Yeah.
bed with each other. It's a proven thing. It's proven from Google. It's been leaked from Meta. They showed it. They said, hey, like, oh, the Democrats forced us to do this while they're in office. Like, that's what they did. Like, we were just following orders. That's what they came out and said. The other thing I
Yeah.
the other thing I find so crazy, and someone recently said this, but they're they were talking about how the they were talking about rich people, and how,
Yeah.
like, they're against, most of the people on the left are against rich people, right? Like, that's kind of like their shtick, is like, fuck rich people, take their
Yeah.
money. But the rich people want the Democrats in office.
Yeah. They do because they
They're
get the tax breaks.
Yeah, they get the most amount of money right now from the Democrats. So, like,
Yeah.
it's like, you guys, like, it was kind of true that, like, if you had more money, you voted Republican, and you had less money, you voted for Democrats. It's not like that anymore. That's not the way it
No,
is.
it's not.
there's only like a few handful of mega wealthy people who vote red, and one of them's like Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, but
Yeah, he's a
most of the
wild card.
yeah, most of the rich people vote left. They like Biden. Biden's their best friend, dude. They're all in bed together, and he just makes
Yeah,
them richer. Like
exactly.
you guys are so dumb, man. You're voting for the side that you think is think it's the enemy. You're voting for that side. The person you hate, you're voting for. It's like I don't know how to like I don't know how to educate them sometimes. Like I don't get it,
You
you know?
can't, like, that's the thing, but and, like, I don't believe, like, in things like the word deserve. I don't believe in it. It's a subjective word, right? You say, "So and so doesn't deserve this, so and so deserves this." I don't believe that. In America, especially, you have the what do you wanna call them? The insects, right? The insects. That's what they're NPCs, right? They don't really exist. They exist because like the media, the government, the greater authority above them has given them a purpose. And that's what allows them to continue on to their daily struggle without falling victim to the perils of free thought. And then you have other people in America, which is the silent majority, which are have the free thought and they think freely. Half of them, choose one side, half of them choose the other. And at the end of the day, it's like none of these issues that we think matter actually matter. The only thing that matters is results. And the only way to obtain results is to do the things and impose the things that society may or may not agree with. It's not relevant. At the end of the day, it's all about how you contribute to what you want to accomplish. And these people that are on the left, the people that are voting for Biden, that are voting against their interests, don't really exist in the same way that normal people do. They're not intelligent. They're just there.
Well,
I'm
hold on,
sorry.
hold on. I don't like to cut you off, but like, not
Yeah.
it's really not all of the left. It's really not.
It's not. There are some that do it and they just don't really care. They're not going to read the newspaper. Maybe they're old or maybe they don't have time for it. They're just going to vote for what they've always voted for and they're going to stick to it. Maybe they're intelligent in the sense that they have a degree and they have a career that requires a specialized skill or specialized skill sets. But I don't consider people intelligent that are unable to acquire a result that benefits them greater than the other options.
well, the left
I
does
don't.
benefit. The left voting for the left has
Yeah,
benefited
no, I'm not
people.
talking about like the rich. Though. I'm talking about the
No, no,
people
no,
that are
not.
like,
I'm not talking about the rich either. Like Obamacare has benefited our generation to a fucking great degree, right? Like we had health insurance until we were 26. Like that was obviously from the left, but it's not even just that. Like
yes,
there's been plenty of things from the left that have been good for our uh for for us. It's not it's not entirely like you're an idiot if you vote left, but
no, no,
I
I'm not saying that. I'm just
yeah.
saying that there's too many people in this country that don't understand the path to improvement, right? Like in like for me, for example, I stay away from three types of people: people that are unhappy, people that are unlucky, and people that are unintelligent.
Unlucky.
In my life, yeah,
Sorry.
I joke you. I joke you not. I joke you
Mm,
not. The you always want to stay away from an unlucky person. If
mm.
someone is suffering, if someone continues to suffer, they continue to be unlucky. Maybe they break their leg, or maybe they feel really sad because their pet died or something. And maybe these things just keep happening to them. You always want to stay away from unlucky people. They will drag you down with them. You have to cut those people off. And I know that sounds like mean, but at the end of the day, it's like you can't let those people get in the way of what you want your results to be. You have to get rid of the unintelligent, the unhappy, and the unlucky in order to move forward.
I agree up until you have enough success that you can then help the lesser. That's
That's fair.
that's where I think that's my little differential.
But
Uh,
how does having more resources help make someone luckier?
it's not it's not
How does having more resources help someone become happier?
well it's easy like this. When you have somebody who, let's say they have a job, um, and if they work for Amazon warehouse and they break both their arms. Terrible accident. It fucking sucks, dude. Both their arms are fucked up. They can never lift shit again. Unlucky. It wasn't anything they did perfectly fine. It wasn't anything they did. It wasn't even anything the company did. Just a freak accident. They break both their arms. Can't ever work again. The the people who have made enough money to help cover this guy's disability paycheck,
Yeah.
like yes, you're right. Like he doesn't deserve it, but the people who can afford it, it's nice that that person all of a sudden doesn't end up homeless and out on the street just because of a freak accident. And most of the world agrees that you should have some form of safety net for these people. Or there's
Doug, if
just
I broke both of my arms in a freak accident at an Amazon warehouse, I would never have to work again.
true. I mean,
I
yeah,
I would be the happiest man alive. I might be the unluckiest man alive, but I would be the happiest man alive.
exactly. So you agree then? So you agree that's how it helps bring happiness to the unlucky.
No, to not have to work.
But either way, you're happy.
Yes, because I
Okay.
broke both my arms. So even though I was unlucky in that one instance, that doesn't mean that I'm unlucky all the time. There are people out there that are unlucky all the time.
Okay, but how many? It's a minority. It's a minority group. Talking about a really
Couldn't
small.
say one. Let's say one day, you make a friend. His life is going great. He's got a computer science degree and he's got like a wife and a dog. Let's say his wife and his dog die in a car accident, right? Okay, fair enough. You attend the funeral. He's sad. He's depressed, but he bounces back eventually, and he gets another girlfriend. Oh, but he breaks his legs, right? He breaks his legs and and then his girlfriend leaves him. Okay, he's back in the dumps again. Okay, now he's an alcoholic. Now he's going to the bar. He quit his job. He got a lower paying job, lives in a crappier apartment. Could you
Okay,
attribute it to depression? Maybe. Could you
but
attribute it to being unlucky? For sure. But
that's
at that
not
point, you can be like,
that's not
move forward.
unluckiness though. Unlucky it happened, but it's not unlucky he picked up a bottle and started drinking. That's not. How is that
You're right.
unlucky?
You're right. That's unintelligent, which still sticks true to the philosophy.
To your philosophy, yes. Um.
Yes.
Um. Okay. Well, I don't. Fair enough. I think there's a minority left here that we haven't ever seen before in America. They have never been allowed to grow, and
Yeah.
it's that hardcore socialist kind of commie perspective, the liberalism that we've seen grow here. We haven't seen that really prop up in America. I don't know if ever, to be honest with you. Um, and I think a lot of people are starting to catch on, like, this isn't really working.
No.
This isn't really working, and we're seeing a lot of them kind of say, "Oh, you know what? I'm not a liberal. I'm just on the left." And I don't think I know a lot of people on the left. It's fine. There's
Yeah.
tons of reasons again to vote left. It's not a big deal. It's just this particular administration is very
Bad.
left. It's very left. It's very authoritarian, and we've
I don't
just
even I
never
don't even care about the politics of it. I just want my gas prices to be at $2
right.
again. That's not
Yes.
even like a complicated issue. That's called handshaking with Russia and China every few months. That's not even like a complicated issue.
Ooh.
That's literally something as simple as going to the president of Saudi Arabia, just being like, "Hey man, what's up?" And that's the end of it. That's not even like complex. The only issue is our current president can't even walk hardly, let alone shake someone's hands. He can't even remember whose hand to shake. Even if you direct him, he will still read off the
He
teleprompter.
starts. You ever see the videos of him shaking hands with ghosts? He like turns around. He's like this. There's nobody there. He's just trying to figure.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like I don't even care about the politics. I don't care if you want to let all the illegal immigrants in. I don't care if you want to just get rid of the borders, or I don't care if you want illegals to vote. I don't care about any of that. Just give me just give me better gas prices and cheaper rents. That's all I
yeah.
care about.
And I think a lot of people are in that same boat where they're just like, we don't really care what happens. You guys all have kind of radical ideas on how the government should work,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't really matter. You just care about the gas prices, which makes sense. I think it's fine. That's how most people operate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, we're just in a hole. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll see what
I remember
happens this
like
cycle. But
yeah, like remember like 2 years ago, prices in grocery stores were like half of what they are now. Isn't that crazy to think about?
yeah, um,
Like, think like egg milk used to be like less than $3. Now it's like $5. What happened?
It'll never go down too. I see a lot of people who, I mean, it's inflation and people don't fully understand inflation. But it'll never
No.
inflation doesn't work in reverse. I mean, it can, but you really don't want that.
You would have to burn all the taxpayers' money that they have deposited into the government. A huge percentage of that would literally have to be burned or destroyed or deleted, removed. And that's literally the only way. There's two issues with that. One, it would destroy a lot of money that, was originally supposed to be in circulation. And two, it is also going to reduce the amount, the budgets for our government to like a fraction of what it was before. So any potential healthcare benefits, any, government or welfare operations are all going to come to pretty much a halt for a while. And that's a harsh reality that people are not going to be willing to accept when they see that their disability checks aren't coming in as much as they used to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a win situation here where inflation just keeps going down and we kind of get back to our normal percentage, and the wages kind of stabilize a bit, and that's just and inflation happens. It's not the
Yeah.
first time in the world history that we've had inflation. We're not the only country suffering from inflation. As a matter of fact, we're faring way better than most countries when it comes to inflation. It's like not even close. Um, so in general, the whole world is suffering from increased gas prices, increased food prices. It just sucks. But
Yeah.
you're right. Most people don't give a fuck what's happening in the world. They don't care why. They just want to fix, man. Just fucking fix it. Um.
No.
So yeah, I mean, this
Another thing
is.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Like another thing we talk about is what's already been in the works for the past few years, which is CBDC, which
Oh
is
yeah, the
central
digital
bank digital
currency.
currency.
Yeah.
Yep. The only question is, it's like, what is the ratio going to be set at? What's the going to be the ratio of the USD? Is it just going to be ratio of one USD to one USD, or
Yeah.
one CBDC to one USD? Is it going to be 5 USD to one CBDC? You see what
So
I
do
mean?
you want to? Here's my. I'm gonna put the tinfoil hat. This is my conspiracy theory. So
Okay, I'm going to put on the VR headset.
sure. My theory is that the entire West is gonna shake hands and go, okay, no more free floating currency. Okay, we'll back all of our currencies with Bitcoin, basically, or digital currency, and they're all going to shake hands and go, $1 is equal to €1 is equal to one, maybe not the lira, but basically all the currency are all just going to equal one. Um,
Yeah.
because it just gives them the most amount of control, and it helps a lot when it comes to these new systems that just kind of makes sense in terms of the evolution of society in a monetary sense. Um,
Yeah. Like if I go to Coin Market Cap right now, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is sitting at 69,000.
yeah,
Like I remember when it was like less than $1,000. And that's just crazy to think about. I look back all the way. You can go back to when it was around 1,000, which was back in 2017. This is around the time that Trump was still president. If you had bought 10 of these things, you would be at sitting at $69,000 a piece right now. You would have made $700,000
yeah.
just
Well,
from 10 grand, 10 grand investment, 700 grand.
I mean, there's a lot with Bitcoin. The biggest question isn't really like whether or not it'll be a staple, because it just will. The only real question
Yeah,
is how will it be regulated and how will the government kind of adapt to it. And one of the reasons I want Trump to win is because I'd rather that should be um, unregulated. It would be cool if we had something that just the whole world was like, oh, this has value. We should trade in this,
yep,
versus something the government had complete control of. Plus, all the surveillance and tracking is fucking insane. And we just saw, like, especially under this administration, but we also saw from places like Canada and Trudeau, and how they abuse those digital systems, and they can block you out of your bank account, in an
yeah,
instant. So I mean, like, for those who don't know, during COVID, a bunch of the truckers there in Canada refused to get the COVID vaccine, and in response, they froze the assets of the truckers. They said you can't access your money. Um, and not only them, but it was also some of the donors who were supporting them. And like it seems crazy to talk about or that it might exist in the Western world, but it totally would. There's definitely a case scenario, and this in this form, our current administration would definitely do some shit like that if they could.
Yep.
They definitely could. A long time ago, actually, and I think this went completely under the radar, but they used to not be able to see digitally what was going on in your bank account. Now, without some extreme warrants or some
Yep.
spying, that got changed. There was a policy change, went completely under the radar, where they can see where when money is going in and out of your account, and because the bank obviously tracks what it's for. How do you open your bank account, on your phone or on your computer, and it says you fucking paid a subscription to blah blah blah, or you bought groceries at Publix. Like they can see that now. And you probably just click the rules and privacy has been updated. You probably just hit sure, bro. Check.
Yep.
Well, you just gave them permission to see into your account. I mean, you probably didn't have a choice, but that already
No.
happened. Um, and so just with a digital currency that is controlled by the government, they can again just lock you out of your account just for saying something you don't like, they don't like, doing something that they don't like. Let's say you support the opposition, and you went to a rally, and they're just like, okay, well, here's how many people are at this rally. Just block it. Like these are things that not only are possible, but kind of likely to happen at some point if it's um, I mean, just under this current administration, this current one is
Yeah.
so crazy. Like they're just
Well, yeah,
so
no.
fucking dictatorship. Like it's so wild.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
there needs to be a neutral entity that oversees all of this.
and
And the reality
unfortunately,
of
yeah,
it is, yeah, neutral entities can obviously be bribed and they can be threatened. The only thing that can't be bribed, the only thing that can't be threatened is artificial intelligence. So the only real
it
way
can be
to provide
manipulated.
a neutral, the only way to provide a true neutral entity is to use artificial intelligence.
I do kind of agree. The only problem is then you have this you have this situation where you have to opt into giving AI complete control, because the second you give it any form of a human controller, that person's going to be biased, and or can be biased. Maybe they don't have to be, but I watched something recently that talked about this. It was two guys who worked for Gladstone, another Joe Rogan episode, and ironically, in an area where um, socialism or authoritarian governments work, they especially for dictatorships and authoritarian governments, they tend to fall short because there's one guy in control, or one party, and they cannot intellectually have enough information to make all the right decisions. Whereas if that party had an AI underneath, the AI could, you just tell it how the form of government you want to run, and then the AI can control all of these departments that you would normally need to be manned. Um, so there are only really two options there, and one is you give AI complete control and you just pray that it doesn't fuck up
The
or go
yeah,
crazy, or you place someone above it to control it. In which case, you're pretty
it's
you
bias.
you could be signing up for something even worse. So I don't know.
Another option
Yeah.
is to impose policy that requires a certain percentage of GDP. There can't be, for example, a certain percentage of GDP that falls below a certain point. Otherwise, the active sitting members of Congress and the Senate are required to go under reelection, and they have to lose their seats.
There are definitely solutions. They'll figure that shit out. I don't. I would rather it would be a while before we need to worry about stuff like that. I think. Hopefully.
But there does need to be term limits for Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives. I feel like we have too many people that are sitting in there that are just holding on to their seats that are like 60, 70 years old, some of them 80 plus years old, that really just don't need to be there anymore. They don't really they're already bought and paid for, and
People
they're just
should
taking up a
just
slot.
people should just go vote. Is what I think
Yeah,
the actual solution should be. Just go fucking vote. Those guys wouldn't be in office if when re-election they get elected, right, every 4 years like everyone else or whatever. Like just go vote for somebody else. No, isn't that the actual solution?
that's assuming that there's no interference going on for them. Tinfoil
Sure.
hat not on, but
But like I just feel like we can't. It seems silly to make that the solution because it seems very, oh, I don't want to deal with this problem. There should just be a system that deals with the problem. Just go fucking vote, man. Just go vote for somebody else. Hello? Like,
Yeah.
was I don't know. That's my opinion. It
I
just
mean, I
doesn't.
don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just overthinking things.
No, a lot of people say what you're saying. Well, there should just be a term limit. But like at the same time, when I go and ask those people, oh, then which congressman, who did you vote for that didn't win? They're just like, I don't vote. It's like, okay, dude, like,
Yeah.
huh? Like, what do you mean? You want a new
Yeah.
person, but you don't want to vote? Okay, makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Um,
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. Like more than half of all Americans don't even vote at all.
yeah, I think that's more of a problem than anything else. Is just go fucking vote, man. Like,
Yeah.
just go vote. Like a lot of the problems that we kind of have would be solved if we all just voted. Believe it or
Yeah.
not. The only reason these psychos keep winning is because the normal people aren't voting. Like
No.
that's it, dude. You know,
Yeah.
there's a reason Trump comes out and says I'm building a wall, and everyone goes a wall, yeah, that's what we need, a wall. We can build a
Yeah,
wall, and they go
no.
and vote. And everyone else is normal is like, what the fuck? I ain't voting. I ain't voting for that guy. I'm definitely not voting for Hillary Clinton. What the
Yeah.
shit? And then he just wins. Why? Because the only people who vote for him are crazy people. Then we have an old dementia man get on stage and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna solve the student debt problem. Yeah. And then all the fucking ding dongs go, wow, that's amazing. How is he gonna do that? Let's vote him in
Yeah.
office. And again, all the normal people are like, I don't know if that's actually feasible. I'm not voting. And then he gets elected, and everyone goes, huh? That's
Yeah.
crazy. How did that guy
Yeah.
win? So you didn't
Yeah,
vote,
no.
dude. You didn't vote. You didn't vote.
No.
Like, you didn't
And
vote.
it's like so many issues could be resolved by just not feeding the issue. Like, for example, if the people that illegally cross the border, if we just said you're not getting an ID, you're not allowed to vote, you're not allowed to own property, you're not allowed to have a bank account, you're not allowed to have pretty much any of these things, and we're not going to give you food, we're not going to give you shelter either. They would go back to Mexico. Like they wouldn't stay here for that long.
Maybe.
How are they going to get their money? Where are they going to sleep? They can't get a motel. They
How
can't get a
how do
hotel.
how do
They can't
most homeless people get food and money? There are
from
homeless
people.
people who exist, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, they get it from other people though.
yeah. Well, illegals work
But
all the time. That's been a thing for quite a while.
yeah, but there's more illegals than there is homeless.
Well, okay, yes, but it's under an unprecedented time where we have somebody intentionally importing them, right? Like I would argue that now it's just different because this isn't like natural causes, it's not
We're not
natural
just
refugees.
importing them. We're not just importing them. We're
We're
using them
kidnapping them.
as no, we're using them as game pieces in a risk game.
Oh,
We're
true.
sending them over to New York to take their land.
I don't know, that shit situation is so funny. So they like come
It
in,
is.
right? And then Biden lets, okay, so the administration lets them in, and then Texas and Florida ship them to blue states. And then the
Yeah.
blue states, they're called like sanctuary states, they have these laws that basically say, oh, if you're homeless, we have to provide shelter and food for you. So the red states were sending them to these blue states, these sanctuary states, and they couldn't afford to house them and feed them.
No.
So now they're declaring bankruptcy and they're freaking the fuck out because they can't afford it. You're right though. It's like a risk game with people. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fucking
the
crazy.
governors are literally playing risk with one another. Like I
Yeah.
sent 11 game
No.
pieces to New York.
No, 100%. It's completely wild. Like again, I think it's like a war is taking place between left and right, and it's fucking psychotic. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should just start arming the legals with smallpox blankets and send them out.
and
Even
and
though
then send them
smallpox,
out.
yeah, then send them out.
I don't know.
I mean, even though
It's
smallpox has already been eradicated as a virus, but yeah,
I'm hoping that we just fucking get to this wacko election and it doesn't get worse. But
it
unfortunately,
doesn't get worse. Is that what you just said?
yeah.
Let's be honest here. Come on,
Oh well, okay.
it's gonna.
So here's my next conspiracy theory. One, I think fucking and the next big World War event is gonna happen here within 2 months. So um, there's a lot that's happening in these next 2 months, but Yeah, jumping to some more world news. I know we talked about some last week, but we have we can start with North Korea. Was sending balloons full of human poop and garbage into South Korea.
I think it's just funny because it doesn't serve any tactical purpose. It doesn't do anything. It's just weird.
Yeah,
It's just a weird thing to do.
they just started sending poop balloons over into South Korea. They
Yeah.
recently came out and said they were gonna stop. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Imagine that being a conversation like, yeah, hey, Mr. Kim Jong Un, yeah, listen, they want to know if we're gonna stop sending the balloons over. They're kind of annoyed about it. They don't know why we're doing it. Like, yes, we have them right where we want them. Ha ha
Yeah,
ha.
we got them.
Tell them
Yeah.
we will stop for now. Our attacks will cease. We
They
will we
better
will show them mercy.
tell them they better stop, or we'll send more. That's all
We
for
will send
now.
more. That's all for now.
South Korea did say they would respond, and then the attack stopped, and then they came out like, oh, maybe we should stop. I don't know if he's just trolling or having fun or like what Kim Jong Un is
I
doing,
think it's
but
hilarious. My only question is it his? Is it his, servants? Is
uh,
whose feces is it that they're collecting?
I don't know. But just they're
I don't know. The thought of some poor like peasant being forced to shit in a balloon for Kim Jong Un just
oh my god, they actually collect their poop. They actually
do
in
they?
North Korea, yeah, the civilians, they collect their poop and they give it to the government. True story. True story. That is actually a thing that they do. I read a book from a North Korean defector, and that's what
North
they do.
Korea is a fever dream. North Korea is literally like the back rooms if humans lived in it. That's
It.
literally what North Korea is.
I implore anyone to go and listen or listen to um fuck, what's her name? Something Park. She's a North Korean defector. Um, and just listen to her story because it is fucking insane. There's a whole episode on Joe Rogan. She wrote 2 books, I think. She's been on a ton of podcasts. Like it's just incredible hearing her story. Young Park or something like that. But yeah, in the book, she talks about how everything belongs to the government, including their shit. So they have to collect their shit, and there's officials that come through every week, I think, and they like collect it. And I'm sure they use it for like manure, like for fertilizer and stuff. But maybe they also were just using it to send balloons over the border now. I don't know, but yeah, true story. They collect the poop, so
Isn't it crazy that you have less people trying to immigrate from North Korea into South Korea than you do from Mexico into America?
they can't. They can't. They've so she was one of the last people to actually get out. But after she had made it out and she told her story, they basically made it as hard as possible for anyone to get out. They like increased their the landmines they had set up. I mean, in order to get out, there were people literally driving to the border, and they would just get out of their car and just fucking sprint it as fast as possible while getting
Yeah.
shot at. And plenty of them got shot and they were killed. Some of them make it
Yeah.
over. Um, a lot of them will take they'll get in fucking rowboats and just like try and go around the border through the ocean. And they it's pretty crazy. Like
Like,
uh,
and you want to talk about things where it's like, we're invading Iraq or something, or we're invading some other country. Why are we not just plowing down this backrooms looking, Asian country that doesn't really have a whole lot of weaponry in all
China,
reality?
we tried during the Korean War. We pushed them all the way back, and then I mean,
China?
yeah, China jumped into the war during the Korean War and pushed it all the way to where the border is now. There's a stalemate, and they're like, okay, we can't keep fighting. They talked to me and they're like, okay, we'll just technically they're still at war. They have never solved the war problem. It's just a truce, like, not a truce, a peace, a ceasefire, a ceasefire.
Yeah.
They're still technically at war. But yeah, when the Korean War happened, the North invaded the South, and it was pretty much a loss for the South. Like, it was bad. They were completely unprepared, and then the UN stepped in, and by UN I think it was mostly uh it was some troops in the I can't remember who was the original troops that like helped hold the line until the Americans got there, and then it was a lot of Americans fighting that war. They pushed them all the way north, and I think it was McDouglas or whatever the fuck his name is, the island hopper guy. but he just wanted to
Yeah.
keep going. He was like, "Yeah, keep going. Go push him into China. Yeah, keep going. Let's go into China. Yeah."
Oh
The
my
guy was
god.
crazy. Yeah, I think they actually had made some progress into China, but China was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" So they
Yeah.
they they entered the war and they pushed them all the way down into the middle where they are now, and so that's where the border is. But the only reason we can't really do anything is because yeah, like it'll pretty much immediately start World War III because China will have to get involved. That's their doorstep. It'd be like if the communists got to Mexico or something, and they like pushed all the way to the border. Like it would be crazy. Like
Well, I
U.S.
mean, yeah, it's like Kim Jong Un is kind of like a puppet for Xi
Oh
Jinping,
yeah,
you know?
100%. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, if even if you do capture South Korea, you're just gonna do my bidding, or I'm just gonna replace you with someone else who does.
Yeah, I mean they're completely outmatched now. It's like not even close.
Yeah,
And it's always really hard to tell when those guys are actually fighting because they just they just like North Korea just
I
talks so much shit
I
all the
would
time.
make the trade. I would actually kind of just make the trade with China. Be like, you can have Taiwan if you give us North Korea.
Call it even, shake hands.
Yeah, call it even. Shake hands. Why not?
Speaking,
I think it's a pretty fair trade.
I, I don't think so. Not that I wish the North Koreans were free. I've again reading her book and listening. I mean, you can listen to any of the North Korean defectors' stories. It's fucking insane. Like it's some of the worst
Yeah,
things I've you could ever hear. Like it is completely wild what they go through. Um,
yeah.
but
I mean, they're forced to believe that Kim Jong Un
he's a
is this.
god. They're
Yeah,
forced to believe he's Jesus.
yeah.
Like
Isn't that
it's
crazy?
no, it's absolutely insane. I'm telling you, you gotta read her book. I loved it so much. But like in her book, she talks about how they're indoctrinated into thinking this guy is literally God and that he can
Yeah,
hear their thoughts. And so like she escapes, but like in her mind, imagine God is like imprisoning you basically, and you escape from him. Like that's crazy to think about.
yeah,
I've I don't know. Check out any North Korean defectors stories. I mean, it's just so wild. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, just trade Taiwan for North Korea, and then just replicate what they do in Taiwan and North Korea.
I don't think that would take many years, many years. Taiwan.
You you would just need to take some of the equipment over. Just take the equipment, train the people, etc., etc. Wouldn't be too hard.
Oh yeah, snapping the fingers. I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe a decade down the line, you got things figured out, but it'd be
Uh,
better than the current situation.
in other news, we have back
Yeah,
to Europe where the U.S. and Germany have finally jumped on board with the use of our long-range missiles, basically, and other weapons within the Russian border, which
yeah,
it's hard to tell these days if that's big news or not because this has been an escalating conflict for the past 2 years now. I think we're at 2.5 years or two years and some change.
yeah,
Um, I do think this is a big one because it a lot of the conflict has been one side justifying their actions with uh the actions of the enemy. So when
yeah.
Ukraine
False
gets
flags.
well, I mean, there's
I
been
call
some
I call them false flags.
there's been a lot of false flags. There's been a lot of attempts at false flags, but the community is like very locked onto those, and so it's caused a lot of pause to be like, don't really think that's true, and like that stops either Russia or even Ukraine from doing some things that they shouldn't be doing. Um,
Yeah,
However, where we've seen straight up escalation is when there's an actual attack. Like when there's an actual attack, it's been an immediate reaction of like, okay, now we have permission to do this. So Ukraine has been their hands have been held behind their back basically is what the story how the story goes in terms of
yeah,
they've been allowed to attack within Russia, but under the only after they've been given permission. Um, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of those is actually gas prices. The Ukrainians have wanted to attack the oil refineries. However, that would drive up gas prices, which doesn't look good for the president of the United States, right? Um,
no,
so the rumor is, but I think this one's pretty obvious, is that he's told them not to attack those refineries, and obviously attacking civilian populations has been off the book. But um, yeah, so as France and the UK came out first, which is kind of
Yeah.
abnormal. It's mostly been the U.S. that's been like, yeah, tanks and planes and missiles, yes. Um, and this time it was the UK and France who were like, you can use our long range missiles to attack within Russian borders, which is important because during this whole war, Russia kind of pushed all of their supplies right up front. So you had the front lines, you had the Russian military, and you immediately had the supplies like right behind because obviously it makes sense you want your supplies to get there first. And what kept happening was Ukraine was bombing the supplies, the depots, and so Russia just kept moving them back and back and back and back until eventually it was in their own territory, really kind of deep in, just out of range or just out of permission.
Mm.
And so one of the reasons they can't advance or like they're struggling in the war is because they can't attack those depots. And finally, the U.S., Germany, France, and the U.K. have all said, "Fine, fuck it, you're allowed to attack within the Russian border." Um,
Mm.
so Russia's come out and said, "Okay, if you do that, then we will consider your people within." There's a lot of Western troops within Ukraine. And I don't think a lot of people know that, but there's a lot of Western troops, and not only just troops facility within Ukraine. A lot of French troops, a lot of UK troops. I think there's some German troops too. I mean, you can just assume there's a bunch, and they've avoided attacking them because they don't want to piss off these. Russia has avoided attacking them because they don't want to piss off Western countries, and they're saying that if we get hit by a missile made by the UK, France, Germany, or the US, then we can defend ourselves. It can be our response. And this normally when Russia says something, you just kind of go, whatever, man. Like whatever, you fucking said this 1,000 times. However, where we've seen definitive action is when an actual attack takes place, and you best believe Ukraine is going to use a Western weapon to attack the depots in Russia. Um. So yeah,
Well,
that was a
and another
mouthful.
thing is, it's like it's one thing to defend a country and to push back an invading force to the borders. It's a whole nother thing to enter the country that attacked you and start targeting structures. I think at that point you've taken it too far. Like, yes, they attacked you. Yes, they initiated it. But at this point, you have the option to stop and just hold the line. And instead, you're choosing to continue the confrontation more than it needs to be, continued. And I think that right there is a huge mistake, not just for gas prices, but just in terms of human lives and overall stress on Eastern Europe. I don't think it needs to occur.
So I think at the start, a lot of people agreed where it was like, okay, you can fight within your own borders, but fighting outside your borders is a no-no. And unfortunately, it's just become impossible for them to make any more progress even within their own country, because again, the depots and the supply chains are within Russia. So
Mm.
we're at an impasse here where they just, I mean, it just kind of depends on whether what you want Ukraine to win, but there's no possibility of them being able to win anything or make any progress without hitting those lines and those depots, which unfortunately again are within Russia's borders. So personally, I don't, it is what it is. I say just there's no
I
other
would
option,
not.
but
I would not be doing anything. I would just tell them to just hold the border. I would not, because they don't have a reason to advance at this point. There's no reason to destroy depots, in my opinion. There's no
well,
reason to
Russia
destroy any structure.
Russia is in Ukraine still. They've actually made decent progress this year in terms of pushing towards Ukraine.
Then the focus
And
should probably be on
pushing
those.
towards the capital, Kiev.
At that point, you shouldn't be focusing on attacking supply chains. You should just be focused on defending your capital and pushing back the forces that are invading. I don't think there should be any focus on touching Russia at all.
They tried and they're losing, and they see their only option is being able to attack the depots. I'm just giving you their perspective, and
Yeah, no, for sure.
so um, yeah, it's what's going to happen, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which side you take or you want to happen next. Um, so we're just kind of awaiting that response, and we're waiting for the first
Yeah.
use. It'll probably happen. The use of Western weapons on Russian soil has already happened. And what
If
are you
we're being
spending?
honest, half of all the weapons on the Eastern Hemisphere are all made in America.
There's a lot of American-made components at the very least.
Palestine, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Israel, pretty much every Eastern European country, parts of Russia, a lot of Chinese areas that have American weapons as well. We could go down the line, but that's yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
percentage
it's
chances, yeah,
you're not wrong. So I mean, even the crazy part is even our civilian uh hardware, I mean, and
yeah,
software is better than their military grade stuff. So I mean,
yeah,
there were videos of them shooting down Russian drones or whatever, and it would be like a Nikon camera,
yeah,
like it would just be like some civilian camera in the drone, or that they're just using to
yeah.
zoom in and pick their targets. Like I mean, it's just wild shit. Um, so
Yeah, and the drone thing is another thing where it's like, does this violate the Geneva Convention? Using, civilian drones to attach explosives to them and target soldiers out in the open fields.
oh yeah, I mean, it's a new form of warfare that we haven't seen, and it's not even just caused questions on that, but there were a lot of questions within each government. I'm like, wow, a company that just makes drones like for delivery can all of
Yeah,
a sudden be used to as a as a terrorist organization or as a war starter. Like that's what it
yeah,
takes like seconds to transform these drones into weapons. They're called
yeah,
dual use drones or weapons now. They're not, because they can
yeah,
just be easily manipulated to cause damage. Like,
yeah. I mean, I've
it's
seen
insane.
videos where it just blows up structures, just flies into a building, blows it up.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. Just takes out a group of 7 men like it's nothing.
Yeah, the
So it's
war
like,
has been crazy. It's changed a lot of things. It's changed our future when it comes to
yeah,
warfare for quite a while.
wars are going to have to be fought with AI and drones. That's just how it's going to have to be. I think we should stop using manpower for all of this at this point. It's just become um, too much loss of life. Too much loss of life.
For
I
sure.
think uh, I think there's not enough value placed on it. We're too willing to send men that either don't know any better or who have already seen warfare back into the fray again just to suffer and to potentially die. And it's not. I don't think it's good for anyone. It's not good for the families back home, and it's not good for the people we send there. If you want to fight with drones, I think that's fine as long as we're not taking out innocent civilians like Israel is.
Why am I? Why my sticky note just go away? Yeah. I mean, that's the big push is
Yeah,
for drone warfare. And we've been seeing so much of it. And there's even the push for robots to enter the market. And I'm sure that's where we're headed.
yeah.
Speaking of Hamas and Israel, there's a new peace deal on the table. Um, or truce. I think it's. I was just learning about it today. I don't think there's any chance that Israel
There's never
takes.
going to be a peace. No, Israel is never going to accept any peace deal. The only reason why they even keep mentioning it in their articles is to give people the idea that Hamas has something that threatens innocent lives or yada yada yada, and that they're in the talks of a a ceasefire, potential ceasefire. But there's never going to be a ceasefire. There's never going to be a peace agreement. They're going to take over Gaza. Gaza will become part of Israel. At this point, they don't care about the optics. The optics don't matter anymore. They've already come out and said they're there to kill them. This is not. There's not a debate about this. This is just. They're just killing them. They're just killing them and taking the land. That's it. Dead and flat.
Well, besides, just without getting into all that, uh, I just know they clearly have no intention of living on the same planet as Hamas. That much I
No.
know. They
Well, it's not Hamas. It's Palestinians. They don't want to live. They think of them as sort of like animals, like dogs, sort of. That's their words, not mine.
that was the words of the defense minister for Israel. I agree that there are clearly some pieces of that government that do not want to.
Like, I have not seen a video where there's an Israeli that thinks neutrally or positively about people of Muslim descent living in the country with them.
Well,
I have
neither
not seen or heard anything like that.
neither did we during World War II when it came to the Japanese, and neither did we after 9/11. So I mean, like, I'm not surprised that they're not really interested in.
But we didn't live next to the Japanese.
But imagine if we did.
Mm,
You don't think it would be
I
worse?
no.
Dude, I don't know. I disagree. But again, we're getting into the Israel Hamas thing is a whole other fucking runaway story. I think the peace deal. There's just no way it goes through because
Well,
again,
no, there's never going. They want Gaza. They're just gonna take it. There's peace deal doesn't exist. It's a non thing. It doesn't. It's not real. It's like having schizophrenia. Is the peace deal in the room with us here right now? You know, it's not a real thing. There's been talks that the reason that they want the Gaza Strip is so that they can build the Ben Gurion Canal,
oh,
which is
for the oil offshore.
for the trade route. So that because right now the Suez Canal is the main trade route from the Dead Sea to the Indian Ocean, and it's literally the most important canal on the planet. It's home to like literally every single trade route from between China to America, China to Africa, Africa to Europe. It goes everywhere. And if they build the Ben Gurion Canal, it will allow them to take control of that market entirely. Because all those tolls, all that money that's being funneled through the Suez Canal is going to now have another option. There's going to be competition with the Ben Gurion Canal that will run through Gaza.
You should. I think you should be wearing your hat sometimes.
Okay, listen, it's viable. It is a viable option.
I
It's a multi it's
it's definitely possible. I don't disagree, but
I think that's the big reason why they want this canal or why they want Gaza specifically. And I think it's smart. I think they should be doing this. What they're doing I think what they're doing is right. I think Israel killing all these people and taking their land is smart. I think they should keep doing it if they want to control the trade market. They should. This is the smart play. Kill all the people in Gaza, take over the land, build a canal on it. This is smart. I like this idea. They just need to stop talking about what they're doing. They just stop going on and doing interviews about what they're doing. They need to literally say no comment and move forward, and then people will forget about it. But the more you keep talking about what you're doing in Gaza, the more attention people are paying to it. Listen, I like the idea. I think it's great for Israel. I think it's a smart play. I don't like that you keep talking about it.
okay. Well, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens next there. But yeah, definitely. So at least we're in agreement that there's definitely not going to be a deal.
Oh
I
no,
guess
not at all.
for the reasons are a little different, but yes.
No,
Um,
they want the land, and it makes sense.
we also have the two elections that took place. Actually, we have three elections, excuse me, that took place recently. Sort of. India's just wrapped up, and Prime Minister Modi, I don't know his first name, he won again, and he's been a very interesting character for those who don't know much about him. In general, he's seen as quite good for India, or by the people who live there. Um, However, he's had some controversy in terms of trying to assassinate Canadian and American nationals who
Yeah,
are following a religion that he doesn't like. I can't remember which one it is. They're religious leaders, and that's been a kind of an interesting um, thing that's happened. Um, it doesn't really matter. The U.S. and India, like, they need each other in terms of this next stage of global affairs. But we also
yeah,
have Mexico voting in their first female president. So congratulations to her. I don't know her name. I don't know anything about her. True story. I know the last guy was fucking crazy, and
yeah.
he wholeheartedly thought aliens were here and then they existed. And I know that's not uncommon, but he also supported a guy who would constantly come in and bring in like fake fossils and stuff, and be like, "This is an alien." And you'd be like, "Look, everybody, aliens exist," and it would be like, it'd
Yeah.
just be animal bones or something, or be some fake alien, which I thought was pretty funny. He was a very vocal dude, the last Mexican president. So
Claudia Scheinbaum was born to Jewish parents. Seems
who's
Israel
this?
likes Mexico. That's
Uh,
the new president.
oh, and
Hmm.
what's going on there? You think? What's the plan?
I think Israel wants to control Mexico, which is
Oh,
great. It's cheap labor. Good job, Israel. Another great win.
yes.
I don't like. Just so happens to be a Jewish woman, but she has played down her heritage on the campaign trail. I would too. Mexicans don't typically like Jewish people.
Okay. uh,
Tinfoil hat fully on at this point.
uh, and then we also have an election in South Africa where the ANC has lost a bit of power. I think they've held a majority for like 30 years or something, and now they've seen
Yeah,
a decrease. I think in general we're seeing some interesting election turnouts where a lot of nationalism is taking place. A lot of nationalists are winning. So I mean that's definitely a sign of like people are starting to care more about what's going on in their country, and everyone's leaning a little more isolationist and is just like, hey, take care of us. And unfortunately, I think that kind of it's like the cycle of, okay, we'll take care of ourselves, and then that makes it tougher on everybody else, and everybody
yeah,
else goes, oh, we need to take care of ourselves, and that makes it tougher on everybody else, and they go, oh, we need to take care of ourselves, and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, I think we've covered everything today.
yeah.
Unless you wanted to throw something in there.
Nope. Aside from just get out there and vote and just enjoy the memes because there's gonna be plenty of memes here to come. And don't take anything I say seriously. Anything I say and do is not to be taken seriously in any context whatsoever. I fully have a tinfoil hat on at all given times. I have schizophrenia, diabetes, and other related conditions that affect my mental health. So please do not believe a word I say. Other than that, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That was like,
Just a quick yeah, fine print disclaimer there,
yeah.
because why not?
Well, okay. Thanks for that. Thank you everyone for listening to the
Everyone, it's just you and me. What do you mean, everyone?
well, I mean they'll eventually hear it after it gets, everyone's definitely listening. Everyone is definitely listening right now.
Is everyone in the here in the room with us right now?
Yeah, everyone looking through the
everyone,
cameras.
everyone. Oh yeah, looking through the cameras.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Is the audience in the room with us right now? Can you elaborate more?
they're in the
What
digital space.
what does the audience tell you to do, or does the audience tell you to kill
They
yourself?
tell me not to talk about Biden or Israel is what they're telling me.
Okay, okay. We'll discuss that in our next appointment. Yep.
Yeah.
Patient seems delirious.
This is the guy who just spent like 30 minutes rambling about Israel and Jews.
What? No, listen. It's not. Listen, Mexico adopted their first Jewish president, and I
They
think it's a
adopted
great
her?
thing. It's kind of like adopting, except she adopted them. It's kind of the reverse, but you have to say
Yeah.
the opposite because it's actually the reality of what's happening is the opposite. My tinfoil hat is pretty much fully ingrained into my head at this point.
You got the straps for sure.
It went in through the tinfoil hat went in through my ear, and it's on top of my brain at this.
Okay, well, goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you.